Hello, Dave Morelli here, and we're on the second step here on our Pecatonica River Hawken Flintlock. I made a mistake in the beginning video. The barrel is a 1 in 70 twist instead of a 60 twist. I went back and looked it up because I wasn't sure I said it right. 70 still makes it even more of a ball shooter. So what I'm going to do today probably is go ahead and fit the breech plug. It's kind of windy and nasty and doing spring mountain stuff out there as far as the weather is concerned. So this is metal work, and I'm going to be starting on all my metal work. I kind of do it all together. So I have my butt plate here, that'll be sanding. And this is something that I wanted to show you, is a tool that I made. And it clamps in the vise, and it is a little vise thing itself. And the trigger guard, you can see, fits really nice in there. And once you tighten this down, this is really sturdy, and you can do all your filing and sanding. And then the last thing you have to do is take the tabs off. So we're going to set that aside for now. And of course, our new experimental tool, not going to use it today, but we'll decide one day whether or not it goes into the scrap metal pile or if it's going to actually work good. So the first thing I'll do is, the barrel is marked 54 caliber right here, and it has the Green Mountain thing on it. And first thing I'll do, I like to use the top flat that has the markings on it for two reasons. One, it'll have the caliber and I won't have to remark it. And you can see this thing will spin in here. This hook has to be on the top flat. Of course, the flats have to be get together. Looks like we're going to take about a half a thread off of there, and that'll get us close. The other reason, before I do that, what I also like to do, these barrels, when they bore them, they have a thing called run out. In other words, they start on one side and they bore the hole through, and sometimes there's a little run out on the end, up, down, side to side. So this rifle, where's it at? Okay. So this rifle, if I put the manufacturer's markings up, the run out goes up. Just a few thousandths, it's not a lot. But it's one thing I check, and I try to make them, put them in that way. So I've measured the distance that we've got between the edge of the barrel and the edge of the breech face. So I kind of got an idea how much of this breech we got to take off. So we'll put this in the vise, and we'll start working it down with a file. Okay, we've got her clamped up. Now, the threading on this is 13 threads to an inch, so each thread is almost a 1/16 of an inch. Maybe probably about 59, 60 thousandths. And you don't want to go too far, because you want to be careful and do a little at a time, because if you go too far and it goes past the flat where it's not flat to flat, then you got to cut it all the way around again, and you have to cut this face that hits the edge of the barrel to get it in. And you don't want to go less than a half, you don't want this to be less than a half of an inch tall here. So this one's pretty good, and it's about 3/4 of an inch. So I start out with a medium file, keeping it good and level. You can keep an eye on the facets. If you start to make a facet on one edge, if it's deeper than the other edge, then correct it quickly. So I'm just working on it a little bit. And this is another one of them things. You don't go too much at one time. Because I've already probably taken enough off of there to get it. Okay. Now, before, see now my flats are kind of lined up here, and before they were not. And so just that little bit of fouling has brought it around. So we need to go some more. We need to get rid of this crack. Okay. We need it to hit the rifling on the inside, and we need it to be flat to flat, pretty much like that. So we're going to keep on working a little bit at a time and checking it. Okay, so I've been working on this, and we're going to have, most of the time they're made so that you only got to take a little off and get it where you want it. And it's looking to me like this one is going to come, it's going to come, see I still have, this is my top flat. I'm coming close to where it's going to be on my top flat, but the top of the breech plug is going to be one flat over, and I don't know, from the thickness of the space we got there, might be over to this second flat. When you do this, use a wrench that doesn't have any teeth in it. That's right where I've got it flat to flat. I've got it bottom to bottom, inside and on the outside. It's not the flat that I wanted, but the markings are not going to be visible, so we won't have to grind them off. And come out on the flat that I wanted. I wanted it to come out on the flat that had markings on it. Here. It come out on another flat, and the markings will be hidden by the stock. So before we go and try to make it go all the way around to that flat, I'm going to check this run out, and it looks to me like we have even run out. Yep, that's exactly 200 thousandths on both of them. So we got good. Up and down run out, we have none. It's pretty much straight out. But because we had a little run out before, we're going to have a little right or left run out, and it was only a couple of thousandths. But it's easier to fix right or left run out because all you have to do is tap the rear sight right or left just a little tiny bit. And it's a very, very close barrel. It's only a few thousandths off anyway. So I'm going to settle for that. The only other thing we got to do now is I'll mark the bottom so that there's a, I'll show you in a minute. And then this thing's probably about, oh, 5 or 10 thousandths. This is a cast part, so it's not the exact machine size of the barrel. It's maybe 10 thousandths too big. So we'll get a file and we'll flatten them, we'll file them down so that there's no lip here. Oops, there you go. There's no lip right here, and they're perfectly flush. And we'll be done with it. If you use a crescent wrench with teeth, you might put scratches in here that are too deep. Right now I've got nothing on there but just some marring, and that'll come out when I file it down to match the barrel. So okay, let's get on that
down
next.
There where I'm just starting to hit the barrel with the file, so it's close, flat enough. I'll mark it. So now there's a line across there. So if we take that breech out, we can bring it right back to that position. So I'm going to continue filing these barrel flats on the breech plug. I'm going to continue filing them down so that they're even with the barrel flats. Okay, I got 3 more sides to do. Get them I've got them to where there's just a touch of an edge, like half of a thousandth maybe. And when we draw file the barrel, we go over that. That'll clean it up and it'll make the grain of the barrel and the grain of the breech plug the same. But keep it level. Watch I always watch the facets. The facet will tell you if it's perfectly level, there'll be one facet. If you're hitting it a little bit at the wrong angle, you'll have two facets or maybe three, and they'll shine when you look at it differently. They'll shine different. Try to keep one facet across the whole flat of the barrel until you get it down. And like I say, don't go over the edge of that. Don't go over the edge of that breech plug. And make sure you can get little chips in here. And those little chips, I don't know, once it fouls them off, it must harden because they will actually scratch the material. And then you got to work it back out. So you'll feel it and you'll hear it. This is a slow, this is handmade, slow process. You do a little, you look at it. You do a little, you try it. You do a little, you fit it. That's how it goes. So I'm going to keep working. Okay. So, like I say, we got her really good. It's so close now. When I draw file it, I draw file this direction and it'll make it all one grain. It'll be great. I had to take just a little bit, sand a little more wood out of the back where the plug is, but it fits. Now, it's fitting pretty good. Once we get the breech tang, that's going to be next. We're going to, this surface here has to be cleaned up and polished so that it fits real tight against the back of the breech plug. Once we get those together, then we'll actually figure the position of the barrel. Then what I'll do is I'll mark the bottom of the barrel with some blacking, and I'll push it in there, and wherever there's a high point in there, it'll show black, and I'll get it so it sits perfectly flat on that wood. I'm sure there's a little bit in there that's not perfectly flat. It's hitting on high spots. But for right now, until we get some of this other stuff done, there's no, I don't know, I guess you can kind of do stuff in your own order, but there's a few things you have to do in order. And for instance, this barrel. I want to get this barrel where it's supposed to go so that when I fit this, and they're very close entwined, so when I fit all this, I'll have good tight fit all the way around. I can't fit this until I get the tang polished into the back of the barrel. And once I do that, then I can get a better idea where my barrel's going to sit, and then I can level the barrel level the wood in the bottom of the barrel and dress this up so it fits. And then, like doing the butt plate, okay, I'll have to file and shape and do all the things I want to do to the butt plate before I cut this, because I'm going to cut this to fit the metal. And all this shape is going to come off of the metal forward on the rifle. So I guess you got to do stuff in a certain order. Once you get to a certain point, you can work on whatever you feel like. So anyway, next time we'll get this tang and breech plug lined up, and we'll work on getting this barrel sitting perfectly flat all the way across with the in the channel. Anyway, stick with me, and next time we'll continue on. I'm Dave Morelli. Bye.